Hello and welcome to this 12th tutorial in the series. I'm sorry for the long time between tutorials. I started a new tutorial series on this channel named Modeling a Lego Man. This tutorial series is all about the basis of modeling and modeling for beginners. So if you're interested, just check out these videos in my channel. So let's continue. In today's tutorial, what we're going to do is add another color to our dress on the sides here, and we're going to add these hairs down here in the dress. So let's get started. First thing, I'm going to select our dress, let's call it dress, and I'm going to isolate it. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to, you know what, I've seen a problem here before I isolate it. There's overlap, the bed goes through our material, so we're going to fix this very quickly. First thing, I'm going to lower the turbo smooth to 1 because it's much easier to work like this, and I'm going to add another turbo smooth after I'm finished with everything. So this is on 1, this is fine. I'm going to add editable poly to the stack. I'm going to select these 4 polygons here, holding the control key, and the reason I'm holding the control key is because if I don't press the control key, if I just select, it just selects everyone separately, but I need to select a group, so I'm going to hold the control key and it selects a couple of polygons all together. Now if I just take these polygons up, it looks a little bit strange because the other polygons on the side are not affected at all. To fix this, I'm going to apply a soft selection inside the editable poly modifier. Now what the soft selection does is all these colored polygons or lines here are going to be affected when I move this. I don't need this kind of radius of effect, I need something way smaller. Just a couple of polygons on the sides, which is fine, this is fine. And I'm going to take it up a little bit, like so. Alright, now as you can see, it doesn't, the bed doesn't go through it, and I fixed it. So this is fine. I'm going to isolate this dress. And the next thing I'm going to do is I want to cut the bottom part of the dress because the hairs are going from this bottom part. So in order to do this, I'm going to select the edges. I'm going to unclick the use soft selection because I don't need the soft selection right now. I'm going to go back to select object because if I'm still on select and move, I can select, but I can by mistake move something that I don't want to. So this is the safer bet. Select object. I'm going to select one edge down here, and I'm going to click on loop. What this does is just loops all the edges that touch this edge. It's just going to loop for all the edges that touch it. But we need to select only the edges down here in the dress. We don't need to go up the dress because the hairs don't go here, they're going just down here. So what we're going to do is going to go to the top viewport, and as you can see, it selected all the edges here and up here. I need to unselect them, so I'm going to click on Alt and just unselect everything that is not down here. This is fine. Maybe I'm going to Alt deselect this one too. And if I click F3 and see in wireframe, I can see that there are still some selection, row selection here, which I don't need, so I'm going to deselect them also. This is fine. So now what we have, let's hide the soft selection, we don't need it for a moment. Now what we have is a selection of all the edges down here in this form. Now in order to select the polygons that these edges touch, I need to click Control, hold it, and click on Polygon. What this does is selects all the polygons that touch the edges that were selected. So if I Control, click on Polygons, it selects all the polygons that touch the edges we used, which is great for us because these are exactly the polygons we need to grow hairs from. So this is fine, the selection is good. I'm going to detach it, and now I'm going to select the new editable poly which was created, which is the bottom part of our dress. And now I'm going to grow hairs out of this selection. In order to do this, I'm going to go to Create, Vray Fur. I'm going to do this while the object that I created is selected. Let's call this object Fur Helper. Alright. Now if I apply Vray Fur, it applies the Vray Fur to the object that was selected when I clicked on Vray Fur. This adds a plane here. This plane, it doesn't matter where it is in space, you can move it which direction you want, every direction you want. You can place it under the bed, you can rotate it, do whatever you want with it, because it's only a representation that there is a Vray Fur in the scene. So it doesn't really matter where it is, the plane itself, because the fur will grow from this object, source object, from the source object. In our instance, the source object is this fur helper we created. So it's going to grow out of this source object. So the plane, it doesn't matter where it is. But if you delete the plane, the Vray Fur will be also deleted. Now let's look, press C and look how it looks on our camera view. As you can see, there are a couple of problems. The first thing, it's too long. It needs to be shorter. So in order to make it shorter, we're going to take the length and make it 8.5, which is about a half of what it is now. It's good, maybe 9.5. Yeah, this looks better. Okay, 9.5 is fine. Now there is another problem. You can see that the hairs go through our form in some places. We need to fix this. The reason that this happens is because our hair goes like in a circle. It goes up and then bends down. We need to fix this by upping the bend value of our hairs. So if you up this value, the bend will be less noticeable, which is great for us. Something like this is fine. 4.5. Gravity is gravity. If you make it lower, the gravity will be stronger towards the ground. If you make it higher, it will be stronger towards the ceiling. So this is the gravity. Let's Control Z that, because the gravity of -3 was good. It's fine. Next value, we don't need to change it because it looks pretty good, but there are values of variations here. What this does is variation in the direction of the hairs. We have a direction variation. If you up this, then the direction of the hair will be all over the place. So 0.2 was fine. Length variation is variation in length of the hairs. Some hairs will be longer, some will be shorter. 0.2 is fine for us also, because there are a little variations, but they're all almost the same. 0.2 is a good value. Thickness variation, or variation in the thickness of our hairs. We don't actually have a thickness variation here, so maybe just a little bit, so we're going to make it smaller, 0.1. Gravity variation is variations in gravity between hair and hair, so 0.2 was fine, maybe even less, 0.1, because they all need to be pulled the same. Alright, let's unhide everything or unisolate it, and let's just select this region in order to make a test render here to our hairs. This is great. Let's try rendering it out, see what we have. The material of our hairs, it's not important right now because we're going to change it afterwards. It's just the default material from here, so it's fine. As you can see, the hair looks pretty good. Maybe a little bit too thick, but it looks almost perfect. So let's make the thickness of our hairs a little bit smaller, so 0.12. No, 0.1 is fine, half the thickness. Okay, this looks great. We have our lines here, the thickness is good, maybe just a little bit thicker, 0.125. And we can continue to the materials. We're not going to apply material to these hairs yet, because we need to create these materials on the sides of our cloth, and then we're going to apply material to our Vray hair fur. Alright, so the modeling is done. There's a square here that shows us where we render the region. We don't need it right now because we need to work on the materials in the scene. What I'm going to do is, the next step is I'm going to apply this darker material on the side of our clothing object. So I'm going to select the clothing object, I'm going to isolate it, and I want to select this side of the cloth and this side of the cloth. In order to do this, I'm going to use edges. So I'm going to select this edge here on the right side. Let's go closer. Not this one, this one. This edge here on the right side of the clothing, and another edge holding the control key to edge selection. I'm going to select this edge here. So essentially now we have two edges selected, this one and the one on the other side here. Now if I loop this selection, it will select all the edges that it is connected to. So it will essentially select all the edges on the right side and all the edges on the left side. And if there is a connection, it will also select the edges in the center. We don't need the center edges, so I'm going to select, and I'm going to Alt deselect these edges here. So I'm going to leave only the left edges and the right edges selected. Select this one. It's a very surgical procedure, so be careful whilst you do it. I'm going to deselect this ones, holding the Alt key, which is the deselection key. Deselect everything here and in the center. Everything here. This one. This is more surgical, so I need to go in a little bit. Just deselect it. And the last thing, I'm going to deselect these. Alright. So now, as before, we have a right side line and a left side line. We're going to click on Control and click on Polygons. So this selected all the polygons that the edge touched. Alright, so now I'm going to up or grow the selection of our polygons. This is fine. So we have essentially this line here and this line here. This is great. We have a little problem here that of overlapping, but we're going to fix this in a minute. So after we did this, I can create a material, new material, darker from this one. As you can see that the sides of our material are lit up, which means that this material is applied to this object. Now I'm going to click and drag here to create a new material. Let's call it Red Pillow Darker. I'm going to go into the diffuse material and make it darker. So this one darker and this one darker, like so. So about this, we're going to test run rendering this and then tweak the colors using the test run. But for now this is fine. But if I apply this material to my selection using the assign material to selection, it will apply this material to the whole object, not only what I selected. Let's Control Z that. And this problem is a problem that seems to be happening when there is a stack in a material. I don't know why that is. Maybe Autodesk needs to pay attention and fix this in the new release of 3D Studio Max 2016 or something. But the fact is, it does. So if I assign this material to my selection, it will just color the whole object with this material, and this material will be uncolored from this object, which is no good. The way I found to fix this is you collapse the whole stack to one editable poly, and then it is fixed. So I'm going to select this whole dress and convert it to editable poly. Now we don't have a stack, we have only one editable poly, and now it remembers the polygons I selected before, which is good. And now I can apply this material only to my selection. As you can see, it only applied it to the sides because there is no stack here. So Autodesk, pay attention, maybe you can correct this problem in future releases. Okay, last thing with the coloring, there is a problem here and here. I'm going to fix this. In order to fix this, I'm going to select the polygons that stick out with a control select everything that sticks out. Be careful not to select the polygons that on the upper layer, just the ones that go through it. Alright, so just keep selecting like so. This is fine, and let's select these here. And just pull them down like so. Alright, this is perfect. So we have no intersections here, which is great. Next thing I'm going to do is unhide everything. Let's go to the camera viewport. And as you can see, the continuity here is wrong because the color of the fur helper we created doesn't continue the darker tone of this side. So what we're going to do about this is select both of these, isolate them, and I'm going to select this object and select the polygons on the side of the object, like so. Deselect these and deselect these inside. So now what we have here are only the polygons that continue the darker tone of the side of the fabric. I'm going to select these two on this side using a control, like so, and the continuity is fine, and it's also fine here. So now I'm going to apply the darker material of the sides to these parts, to these polygons. Okay, now it seems like it's a continuity of the same object. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give these materials to this fur, so it will continue with the same material as the fabric. Alright, in order to do this, first we'll choose the dress, we'll choose the material, the brighter material of the dress, just choose the Vray Fur object and assign material to selected. So now the fur is this bright material, but we need to create two materials. We need to create a darker material for this side and a brighter for the center. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the dress, select this fur, and select a fur helper, and I'm going to isolate them. Now I'm going to take the fur helper and detach the polygons that I gave the darker color to. Just going to go to detach. Let's call it fur helper 2. Sorry. Fur helper 2. Alright. Now as you can see, the fur is no longer assigned to this part. It is assigned only to the center. Now I'm going to shift drag the Vray Fur plane because I want to create a copy of it. So that's fine, but I want to assign it to the fur helper 2, this part. So now we have one fur plane for this helper in the side and one fur plane for the center. And now I can assign a material to each one of them. So this one is this material and the side one is this material. Now let's see what we get. Let's unisolate everything. And let's try rendering this region and see what we get. Alright, great. So as you can see, the center is the same color as here, and the sides are the same color as this. I'm gonna make it just a little bit darker, and we're done. So the dark material is this one. I'm gonna make it just a teeny bit darker, like so. And I'm going to render the whole image. So I'll see you in the next tutorial when we'll learn how to build some new objects, like a plant maybe in the side, a picture here, and just add life to the scene. Thank you, and I will see you in the next tutorial.